Hello. I believe I am live. How is it going, everyone? Um, I have not made a video in a while, so I pretty much just wanted to go live because I've been busy and I have some laundry to fold and I have some coffee to drink and I have these cute new coasters. So anyway, hello, whoever joined. I wanted to let you guys know, if anyone was curious, that there's a reason why. The reason why I have not been doing synchronic Saturdays lately is not because it's not happening, but because Crystal was on vacation in Japan, and so we haven't been able to fit or anything. I wanted to let you guys know that. I also wanted to just let you guys know that everything that I was freaking out about in like the last live video I did is pretty much fine now. Everything pretty much figured out how to work itself out. So yeah, say hi if you're here. If you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them. I didn't really have anything specifically planned for this. I was kind of wanting to wait for more people to come on to let them know that I did end up getting a job. Oh, hi, Denzel. I was actually about to text you today because I still want to do a video with you today. Yeah, I bet it's hard to be an ENTJ in Life of Kirk. I'm curious, like, what the pressure is on you in a place like San Francisco, and what that's like without having introverted sensing, because I think that NJs, specifically NTJs, probably really thrive out there, but also like the culture of like hustle and like work hard and all of that must be really hard to like give yourself time to relax, I would imagine. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to let you guys know. Thank you, E-Ray, for that comment. I want to let you guys know that I did end up having like 2 to 3 contracts that I signed for work, like freelance work, that pretty much had me from last week not knowing what the hell was going on, like how I was going to pay my bills and just like trying to believe in myself and my value, to like literally all of a sudden, like me believing in myself is what I think. Okay, me believing in myself, I think, is kind of what caused or what made it possible for these things to, quote, fall in my lap. They didn't fall in my lap. I went out and got them. I went out and networked with people, and I went out and talked to people. I told them what sort of jobs I want to do, what I'm available for work. I met with so many people that it wasn't like just a job interview. I met with people just to get to know them and just to see if maybe we could work together. I was not being very I was like letting people know what I wanted to do. But I guess what I'm saying is it really demonstrated to me why like believing in myself and doing that really matters. And if any of you guys actually watched my last live stream where I was literally losing it, it was like the next day after that everything seemingly fell into place. And I guess I wanted to demonstrate to you guys that, like, even though it felt like it was falling into place, that was still me that, like, kind of, like, did that. I paved the path for that. And I only could have done it if I would have used FI to believe in myself. But also I realized how valuable extroverted feeling is, because the jobs / projects that I'm working on now, I only got them because of my network that I created. And I think that TE types, hello there, Joel. I think that TE types have sometimes an issue with networking unless the networking has like some sort of purpose. And I think that what really granted me like the security that I was looking for at that time was my FE, which was networking with people and getting to know them for the sake of wanting to get to know them and not for the sake of anything else, what I could get from them or what my FI needs. Anyway, this could be just a really short video. Like I said, I didn't really have anything planned. If anyone has any questions or anything they want to share, they could say that. This is mostly just going to be me folding some laundry and drinking coffee. So if that is your thing, stick around. But yeah, another thing I was thinking about this morning actually was this guy like went on a rampage in my comments and was telling me that I was an ESTP and that I didn't know what I was talking about because I was an ESTP. And, you know, these comments used to bother me a lot more, and I used to feel really defensive, like that I had to explain myself. But it's so funny. Like now I don't really think I care about those things anymore. But it's still, there is still one underlying reason that really bothers me. And it's not about me. It's not a personal thing. The thing that bothers me is how quick people are to think that they know everything there is to know about another person without being curious and without realizing and honoring the fact that that person that you don't know might know more about themselves than you can see from like a quick video. Life of Kirk, being an ENTJ, I thrive in places with intelligent individuals. If we're going to party and get drink, I get quiet. Yeah, I kind of relate to that. I don't know. I'm sure you definitely feel different as a thinker, but for me, I really like to be surrounded by like-minded individuals. But I feel like the party environment is a lot of times very sensor-oriented, and extroverts who are also intuitives. I don't mean NE users, extrovert and intuitives. I mean people that are EN and then the other two in the Myers-Briggs. A lot of us don't actually really like getting drunk or partying in that sort of way, because the reason why I like people is so that I could get to know them like on an intuitive level. And quite literally getting drunk like inhibits you, like, and it's like a depressant, like it slows you down, like you're not as mentally there. And so it's like less fun sometimes for me because it's hard for me to actually get to know a person or to actually enjoy a person. So Joel, you still don't know if you're an INFJ or an INFP. Yeah. If you're curious about what that is, like I can try and go into some of the differences that I've seen in that. But yeah, pretty much this guy was telling me that he thought that I was an ESTP, and those things used to bug me, but I'll tell you what still bugs me about this is whenever people are so cocksure of themselves and they aren't like the way that I use TI as my fourth function means that I'm like very naturally curious, but I don't just like, I'm naturally curious, but like I'm always leaving it up to opportunity or to like to be wrong. Like I might be, what am I trying to say? I feel like TE is more decisive, and TPs can use TE more than me, and so they can be decisive. But like for me, it's almost like I never come to a conclusion. That's not always true. It takes me such a long time to come to a conclusion, and I really value like leaving those things open, and it will like make a conclusion for you after like a few minutes, if that makes sense. Yeah, go to Denzel's video if you want to know about INFJ and INFPs, the differences. Because I have yet to make that video because, as I'm sure Denzel can attest to, it's really hard to make that video. Hold on. Yeah, intuition is so hard to understand, and intuition is so hard to put into words and like in a sensory way. definitely. Good morning, Joel. How's it going? Just folding laundry and just drinking coffee. This is probably a boring video. I just honestly felt guilty that I haven't done a video in so long. So it's like I still have my actual like videos where I'm going to be sharing some content. This is all content. I'm really sorry that I'm so tired, but I guess some of you guys are still here, so. Yeah, without insulting INFPs, Denzel, yes. Yeah. It's hard to explain the differences between an INFP and an INFJ without accidentally insulting one of the types. And especially as an ENFJ, I tend to relate more to how INFJs carry themselves. And so sometimes whenever I'm telling my friends about the differences, I'll say things like, you know how some people do this thing where they get butthurt about every little thing and you're not sure why? Yeah, you don't do that. You're an INFJ. And I'm sorry if that was offensive. But like, I think it's like I talk to people based on the level of who they are. Like if I was talking to an INFP and I wanted them to understand the differences, that I would like try and speak to them on their level and be like, you know how some people just like don't know who they are unless they have I don't know. I'm probably not even going to talk about this right now because I can't word it correctly. Like I said, it's hard to word. But yeah, it bugs me whenever people have the audacity to tell me that they know what my type is after just a few minutes of watching some videos. And the other funny thing is when people will like admit that I have certain functions that I have developed, but won't realize, like, for example, the ESTP was like, oh, but your NI is really good. It's like, if you know that it's possible for my NI to be really good, then why don't you realize it's possible for my TI to be really good and that perhaps maybe I'm right? And it's just funny when people are like, oh, like you're an SP, but your NI is really good. Or like, oh, you're a TP, but your FE is really developed and really good. Or like, oh, like you happen to have stronger FI than most INTPs I know. Like, what? Like, I mean, if you have the audacity to tell me who I am, yet you're also like kind of like complimenting me and letting me know that I apparently am a well-rounded person. Like, whenever people tell me I'm a thinker, it's funny to me because I'm just like, thank you. Like, I guess, like I've worked really hard on making my thoughts sound cohesive, but like, you think I'm a thinker, tell that to all ENTPs on my ENTP video telling me that I need to hurry up and get to the point. Like I know that I have some issues with explaining my thoughts concisely. And so it's funny to me how people warp it. So it's like they will see a certain function from you from a certain video, and then they think that that's all there is to you. And another thing that's come up is people have questioned if I was an Enneagram 2. And if you don't know that I'm an Enneagram 2, that's because I have some embarrassing stories of me acting like a stereotypical 2 that I haven't shared on the internet, okay? Because I really don't want to look like the Enneagram is something that's like embarrassing, you know? Not always, but like all of the Enneagram descriptions are really just showing the worst in people, in my opinion. And like, it's just, I'm ashamed of being a 2. Like, I don't want to be that, you know? I mean, like, I am. Like, I just am a 2. Like, that's how my relationship patterns have always been. Like, if you go to the Enneagram Institute, and you see like the healthy versus unhealthy levels of a type 2, like I relate to the unhealthy at certain types of my life, and then I relate more to healthy now, I would say. But like, if you look at like the unhealthy description of an Enneagram, that should be like triggering for you to read. Like if it's your Enneagram, like you should feel like, ouch, like that hurts. It is how it should feel. Like Enneagram is not like, oh, I'm this type and I'm so unique or I'm so high achieving. Like Enneagram like drags you. It's intense. So Kylie said, how do you differentiate between an ESTP and ENFJ? I agree that they do, when balanced, they look like each other. And so for those sort of types where it's like they use the same functions and they're both extroverted orientation, when you first meet an ESTP, you're going to see SE and FE like right off the bat. They're going to seem friendly. They're going to be bonding with you over something in the moment. I have a close ESTP friend, and the ways that we stay connected would be talking about like, oh, did you see that new article that like was on the Atlantic, that op-ed, like what do you think about it? Or we'll be like, oh, you know, there's that band in town, like what's going on with that? Or like, oh, have you heard that this new oh, like what's your like my ESTP friend is my friend where I will be like, oh my god, so spill the tea on Adriana on Ariana Grande's new relationship. Like, do you think it's gonna last? Like, she's like the one that I will ask those things. And this is very stereotypical, but like, she like hate watches Keeping Up with the Kardashians. She's so immersed in the world of other people's worlds and really likes reality TV and like likes watching like how people act, even though she knows it's fake. She just thinks it's funny to watch. And like, I have been in those moods where I've been like that, but I'm just trying to give you guys an example of like, whenever you're just seeing SE and FE, it's going to be like bonding over something that it's in like the sensory world. Like, and so whenever I talk to her, like we will sort of relate on that level of like, oh my god, did you hear that there's going to be more parking, or did you hear that they're going to be charging more for parking by the river market? I can't believe it. Like, oh my god, now that Kansas City is getting cool, all the cool areas are going to be more expensive, might as well move to LA. Am I right? Like that's like this sort of thing. Like we'll just like be like, yeah, man, like that's how things are. Is like kind of how I feel when I'm talking to an ESTP, because they don't necessarily tell you their thoughts on it. They might, but like really when you're just chatting with them, like you're gonna see like SE and FE just sort of going back and forth, like talking about things and like trying to bond with you. Like an example, another example conversation like I would have with her, I don't even know if this is interesting, is we'd be like, oh my god, there's that new like Whole Foods, and she'll be like, yeah, I went there on Memorial Day, which was a terrible choice. I'm like, oh man, yeah, I bet there are a lot of people there. She's like, oh yeah, absolutely, it was dreadful. I'm like, oh my gosh, like how is any millennial gonna get their avocados these days? LOL, ha 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 ha. And well, that's like kind of like our conversations. Anyway, but like, okay, so when you first meet us, yeah, an ESTP and ENFJ are gonna like look similar, but over time, you're going to notice like where their weaknesses are. So you'll notice like over time, an ESTP is you're going to feel like they're constantly like biting their tongue. Like, and ESTPs might live by the motto of like, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. They might live by that motto if they don't know you very well, or if they're your friend and they really care about how you feel. But like with certain scenarios, like they'll say it, but like with their SE, they like kind of know the impact of what something might be. Like I've noticed that NTPs seem to be more okay with like being a little bratty and like sharing their opinion and not really understanding the SE that nobody really asked for the opinion. I just always get this feeling sometimes around my ESTP friends. Like sometimes I'll say something like about astrology or something that might be more out there or more intuitive or weird. And then I just feel the ESTP being like, oh, that's nice. And then like when they're quiet, it's sort of like, what's going on? And I can kind of feel that like there's like a judgment in there that they're like holding in. Also, ESTPs have trouble knowing who they are, what they like, and what their favorite things are. Like I've heard her go on a rant before about how she doesn't understand why people have favorite colors, things like that. Like all sort of FI things. Like really the main way, just to answer the question, is over time you notice where people's weaknesses are. You notice that I have trouble with introverted sensing. You notice that ESTPs have trouble with introverted feeling. And you see the problems that they get themselves into. Me over time, like an ESTP would probably find me like messy, honestly, and they don't understand my impulsiveness. I mean, some of them, you know, like me or whatever, but like she would describe me as someone like a lot of like ESTPs would describe me as someone that might be kind of all over the place. And you might think that's a P thing, but ESTPs can judge me for like my bad introverted sensing. They don't understand how I seem to do things without regard for security in a way, or if it's comfortable at all. Whereas I might look at an ESTP and notice like that they seem to never be in like an honest, authentic relationship, that they don't really seem to share their full selves with people, and that an ESTPs I know seem to just hang out with people that make them feel safe and comfortable, and like that want to do fun things with them, like maybe a concert buddy or like a buddy to go to this thing. Like ESTPs want like buddies, they want like bros, they want gal pals, like they want their like gang, but they have a harder time like being themselves with that person. Where like for me as an ENFJ, like even though an ENFJ and ESTP might seem similar, very similar in like a group environment or a group interaction, an ENFP is going to be an ENFJ is going to be trying to get to the root of that person and like understand who they are deep down, and like try and establish intimacy with that person like right off the bat. And an ESTP is not going to try and establish intimacy right off the bat the way that an ENFJ does. Like that's one way to really know. So, anyway. Life of Kirk, are ENTJs 3s on the Enneagram? Some ENTJs can be 3s, but it's not like an exact correlation. But ENTJ 3s might be more emotional than other ENTJs because the type 3 is on the heart triad in the Enneagram. But an ENTJ 3 would have like a lot of feel a lot of duty towards being successful, and feel almost like the weight of the world on their shoulders, and like really not want to mess up, and like they might care about, you know, image, and be more inclined to care about prestige and stuff like that, which a lot of ENTJs are. But it's, even though like the Enneagram might explain the unhealthy aspects in like a negative way, like a lot of that could be like a good thing, like too. There's a lot of good qualities in there. Yeah, so the INTP that said that you can relate to that reaction when someone talks about astrology. Yeah, I do think, I mean, some TPs do like astrology. My ENTP friend has a whole astrology spreadsheet of all of her friends. And as someone that's kind of in the astrology community a bit, and I noticed some people talking, like there are definitely some TPs there. But that as an example, I think, I'm curious your thoughts if you're still listening. I think that TPs can do this thing where they bite their tongue if they don't, like, if they really don't agree and they're just like, man, the only thing that I could say would be really mean. And so I don't want to say that. Like, but a TP might literally have in their head a question of, are you stupid? And they don't want to say that because they don't want to offend you. But they literally are thinking in their head, like, is this person stupid? If they don't understand it. So what I do for a living, I am going to start my master's in organizational psychology in the fall, and I just picked up a job that's doing admin work for a company that works about the psychology of storytelling and media, which is really perfect for me, and I'm excited about that. So we'll see how that goes. And I'm also doing some freelance writing, but what I was kind of letting you guys know at the beginning is that I'm really happy right now that I pretty much have squared away like the hours for myself and the rate that I need in order to actually go to school without worrying about paying the bills. I mean, at least I probably still will worry. Like, I probably still am going to need to be working around the clock to make sure that I keep getting these contracts with other people and stuff like that. But, yeah, I'm pretty happy that I at least feel like I can relax a little bit now and know that this is, you know, something I could do. Oh, thank you, Joel. Yeah, Joel saying, oh, there's two Joels. Sorry, I've been referring to both of you. Joel Crowley, I want to get into the big five more because it's scientifically accepted, and honestly, it's boring to learn. Yeah, here's what I've noticed is that the scientifically accepted thing doesn't really mean much to me because, like, scientific observations are supposed to be, like, unbiased, but it seems to me at this point, since I've been thinking about this question for a while, it seems to me that it seems pretty impossible to observe personality without personalities getting involved. And I think that the closest thing to the truth when it comes to personality is Carl Jung's cognitive functions, like the 8 cognitive functions and the 16 types, which that can be expressed through Enneagram or socionics. Socionics, or not Enneagram. Oh my God, scratch that. That can be expressed through Myers-Briggs or socionics. But, you know, those things have not been scientifically proven. But the big five has been scientifically proven. But to me, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's true. I think that my hot take is that it seems like big five literally just picked two. It seems like the big five picked 5 arbitrary traits and then is testing you based on your behavior of those traits. And I don't really think that that's that meaningful. I've yet to hear a convincing argument or like hear a perspective from anyone that has found the big five to be meaningful. Unless your goal is to just guess people's behavior, which is not my goal whenever I think about personality. Mine is about really understanding how people process and how they think. But if you're trying to just scientifically test for what sorts of people are going to do this sorts of behavior, maybe big five is for you. I don't know. Okay, Casey Neistat. I have not watched him all the way, but I could see him being an ENTP. I don't know him enough. I haven't watched him enough, but I'm familiar with him. But how do I spot an ENTP? This could be a good series maybe that I'm going to work on after I am done with I have a few more videos left to do of my series of what I've learned about life through observing the personality types. But how do I spot that? That's a good one. But just off the top of my head, I spot ENTPs. Honestly, guys, everyone that I type, it's based on how they make me feel. And I'm not an NFP, so I'm not thinking about how, they remind me of this person, which makes me feel this way. what I'm doing is I'm looking at the FE of our interaction, and I'm noticing like, oh, they seem to like this about me and not like this about me. And I'm looking at my view of them, and I'm saying like, I seem to like this about them and not that about them. And I look at like the interaction of how we relate and how it makes me feel. And pretty much I've noticed that ENTPs right off the bat make me feel like good. They make me feel like we can talk. Like it's easy for me to talk to them. Like then over time, if we disagree on something, I might like see a part of their character that I didn't see before that I might think is kind of slimy, or kind of not how I would have handled it, but that's how I spot them. But like, I know that's not really that helpful. But okay, let me think about it. And that's just me being honest right off the top of my head. And yeah, curated opinions. I'll have to look at Casey and like maybe type him. I've typed several YouTubers, but I haven't like really shared like my typings because I don't really know if people want to know like my celebrity typings or like my examples, because I don't know how fruitful of an endeavor it is to type celebrities. But like, I can also see Casey as using SE. I'd have to like honestly like watch him. I've only seen a lot of his like B-roll. So, hold on. But yeah, ENTPs are playful about their ideas. And I think I spot them because what normally happens is I'm like, oh my God, somebody I could talk about ideas with. But when I talk to them more, it becomes clear in a lot of ways that I view the pursuit of viewing ideas as way more serious and way more personal than an ENTP would, where an ENTP might just think about things for the sake of thinking about them, where I will like think about these same things that they're thinking about, but because I like want to change the world or something. I believe Hannah's Elsewhere is an ENFJ. We have talked. I don't know if she has questioned being an INFJ. I don't know her enough personally, but we have spoken several times, and I do. I definitely got the ENFJ vibe, and based on her life and based on just how I interacted with her, I definitely believe she's an ENFJ. Watt, NG, thank you so much for saying I'm the best, and thank you for asking if I could do more lives like this, but I am curious if you wouldn't mind sharing. What do you like about these lives? Because I kind of like doing them, but it's really hard for me to articulate like why I like them, and it's like every time I push live, I'm sort of like, why am I doing this? I don't really know like if people are going to watch. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. But like, I think I perhaps do well in these sort of situations because I like to engage with you guys is the thing. I like using FE. So yes, it does help me channel my spontaneity. D Seam says ENTPs I met usually started to use intimate information later on to win arguments or discredit your view. It's funny, I was speaking to an ENTP who I work with, and we get along great. Like, we get along so great. We talk about astrology, but they kind of like astrology, but kind of don't, and just kind of judge people who like it, but is like kind of still interested in knowing their chart. But like, I can sense doesn't judge me for liking it, because I can sense that I'm pretty sure they even said this. They can tell that I have reasons for it, and they respect me for that. But for the people that don't have reasons, and for the people that are just doing it as an excuse, that leaves a really bad taste in their mouth. And so they like judge astrology for that, like the person I work with. But we literally talked about the intersections of the LGBT community with the astrology community and like queerism and occultism and how there's connections and like some of their research with that, and also like their research in like disability studies and like how did disabilities play in with mental health. Like I view ENTPs as almost like this like a fun fact machine, like in a way. Like ENFPs are kind of like that too, but the reason why I get along with NE users so much is because they just know so many like random things that I didn't know. And like you would think that I think that ENTPs, whenever they're interested in a topic, they think to research it in ways that I don't. Like, for example, like I was telling them like, oh my gosh, like I'm not sure how I view a lot of things in psychology, because it seems like people just like with ADHD or like depression and anxiety and all those things, like from a sociological perspective, it seems like people label groups of people as having a mental disease more often than other groups of people. And it seems like it's something that they're trying to solve. Like your emotional problem is something that is wrong with you. And I feel like they're shaming you. And I don't feel like that's the way to, you know, deal with emotions. Like I was going on this rant with an ENTP I know, and the ENTP was like, oh, well, yeah. Well, did you know that the roots of mental health was actually, and I can't remember what they specifically said, but it was something like, do you know the roots of hysteria in women, and that was an inherently sexist thing? And did you know that doctors are the ones that came up with the word mental health because they wanted it to be something physical in the brain so that they can control those people more? Like I like ENTPs, and I can tell ENTPs because whether they're interested in the topic or not, they're able to engage. Like I feel like the person I work with doesn't really like astrology that much, but was able to still build off of my interest and respect the fact that I had the TI about the interest. And like has like fun facts to pull out, and then like can kind of, when talking to ENTPs, it's almost like I'm trying to find like a common ground with them. Trying to find like an FE, like common ground, is almost like kind of the goal of like bonding. And so like if they don't like one topic I came up with, then like they might throw out another one, or like the conversation might lead down a different path, like due to the tangents. And I can kind of guess what an ENTP wants to talk about based on the amount of fun facts or the amount of tangents that comes up from the topic, and I will just sort of naturally move away from the topics that they aren't interested in. And I think I'm pretty good at getting like an ENTP to like open up to me and like talk about the things that they're interested in, because I don't mind bending myself. I'm gonna scroll up and see what you guys have said. I'm getting the sense from you guys that it's the NPs in the audience that like when I'm being random. But comment if you are an NP, like an INTP, INFP, ENTP, or ENFP, and you enjoy the randomness of this, because it's hard for me as an NJ to believe that people like the randomness of this, but I know this is true because like I went to VidCon this year and there was all these live streamers. Like I know that there are people on Twitch for hours. Like I know that people listen to live streams. I know it's a thing. So like I know that there's like a value there. And I guess there are like people that I am interested in that I would listen to. It's hard to realize that I would be that, you know. Okay, Lucid Dreamer asks, have you had trouble dating due to your personal growth, self-awareness, and knowledge of the mind? Yes. Because here's the thing. Whenever I was 17 years old, I remember being really, really upset that I was not going to music school and that I had to go to my state school in the middle of Missouri. And I was so upset, and I was like, I'm not going to get along with any of these people. I don't care about joining Greek life. I don't care about sports. I don't care about any of this. I don't know how I'm going to find my people. Like, nobody here cares about music or performing, and like, I don't want to be surrounded by people that don't care about like their art. And I was just depressed, and like a lot of my friends didn't really understand and thought I was being kind of entitled and conceited, perhaps, because a lot of my friends from high school maybe weren't going to a better school than that, and they just wanted me to be, you know, grateful with the school I had, and, you know, stuff like that. And so I kind of grew apart with some friends. But whenever I was 17, I literally was just like, why am I not happy? Why am I not happy? Why am I not happy? And I was just like, this isn't okay with me. Like, I need to figure out how to be happy, because I am literally being such a Debbie Downer, and I'm annoying myself, and I'm annoying the people around me. And I need to figure out how I can just be happier, you know? And ever since then, I've literally been obsessed with personal growth. Like, ever since I like realized I wasn't going to my dream school in Chicago, and I realized I was going to have to be stuck in Missouri, and I didn't know when I was going to get out, and I still haven't gotten out of Missouri. I just started reading about mindfulness and metaphysics, and I started reading about personality type, and I was just on Personality Cafe all day long. I was on the NF Geeks Facebook group back in the day. But what I've realized is, like, literally ever since then, I've been just trying to reach a different checkpoint in my life of like, okay, I realize this is my flaw, or this is my like issue, or my weak spot. What can I do to get past this? And to me, it's fun for me. Like, personal growth is fun for me. There's never like an end goal. I'm just always growing, and I'm always blooming, and I think it's fun, and like that's just how I am. But the thing is that with dating, to answer your question, if I am always going from this level to this level to this level to this level, then it's really hard when I meet someone who is on this level and we're on the same level. And then when I go here just a little bit, if I like make a move in life, or and by making a move, I'm not saying I'm better than anyone. I'm just saying, like, for example, like maybe I'm in the same state of life, and then I take a massive risk, and I, you know, quit eating meat, or I just like quit drinking Diet Coke, or I like start meditating every day, or I like start going to church more, or I start journaling more. Like, I do something that is going to improve me. And then all of a sudden, it's like, what's always happened in my relationships is that the person feels inferior next to me. And then I have to keep telling them that they shouldn't feel inferior. But a lot of people just aren't as interested in growth as I am, and I can't force people to do that. But the thing is if I'm trying to go from here to here, like by like a year from now, I want to be completely financially independent, and I want to be working for myself wherever I want, whenever I can, and I want to travel more. And I'm not there yet. I'm absolutely not there yet at all. But once I'm there once I am there, I'm going to want to be with someone who's there. You know what I mean? And it's not like anything against other people. I just have like really, really big, massive goals that have always made me feel terrible with where I am. Like, it's always just pushed me and driven me to do more. And that's not my fault. It's not anyone's fault. Like, I don't judge anyone else for not wanting those goals. But if someone is perfectly happy working at a corporation and living in a suburb in the Midwest, then they might not be my person, because that's not my end goal, and that's not where I want to be. And so it's really hard to date someone that has massive goals, but also is like at a level where you actually are growing at the same speed. And it is so hard to find people who are growing at the same speed. And what normally happens with my close friends and people that have been in my life forever is that we never are growing at the same speed. It's always kind of like that in different aspects. And we have to be there for each other, and we have to be easy on each other. That's what it's been like with Crystal, my best friend, that I know I've mentioned and that I know has been in my videos. We're both on the self-growth journey, but oh my goodness, there are periods of my life where I feel like I'm babying her, and there are periods where she feels like she's babying me. It just depends on like our life circumstances, but we know at the end of the day that we're both on the same journey together. We both are wanting to be the best person that we could be. And like, I can't, like, sometimes sometimes me being that way puts pressure on people that I'm not trying to put. And a lot of ENFJs have been told, you know, that they put pressure on people, and that they're that sort of person that puts pressure on people. And I don't want to be that, but a lot of that is not my choice. A lot of it is just who I am, and the actions I'm taking is what makes people feel pressure. It's not me actually telling people that they have to change or that they have to grow. It's just sort of my behavior and the fact that I want someone who's at my level that then puts pressure on people. It's not because I'm making them, you know. So let me catch up on these comments, and then I am actually going to fill up some coffee. Yeah, Dave Superpowers is the shit, and I actually called him whenever I was going to leave my job, and we actually were talking about, he was telling me about how, like, young people need to be leaning into discomfort at this time, because this is the time to do it, and, like, you should be leveling up, learning, and I think it's a very NJ thing to do. So yeah, let me know what video you were saying, Lucid Dreamer, that he recently put out, because I'm curious about that. I am going to fill up this coffee, and so hold on just a moment. So, I heard a comment. I saw a comment that said, why do you need to keep growing if you're already good enough? That's the thing. I'm not growing to chase my worth. I'm already worth it. The growth is not so that I can feel worth it. The growth is because I know I'm worth it, and I know that I can do more. I know that growth will always keep happening. I want to do more. That's where it has to come from. You can't be personal growth should not be chasing something so that there's something. Okay, one of my favorite books is Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. There's a whole series out there. It is something where if you are kind of into metaphysics and kind of into spirituality, new age stuff, but you come from like a more religious background, I always recommend that book, Conversations with God, because it kind of closes the gap of those two areas. But pretty much something that this guy channeled from God in the book is that the be, do, have paradigm. A lot of people think that they must have in order to do, in order to be, but really you must be in order to do, in order to have. You must feel worthy in order to continue on trying to do things, to become more and to do more. Jordan Peterson, yeah. In what way would you say he closes the gap? I'm interested in a lot of his ideas, but I'm curious, like, what, like, book or video, if you have any specifically you're referring to. But yeah, I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that, like, ENFJs or NJs or anyone interested in personal growth is doing so in order to fill like this hole that is deep inside them. But really, it's like, I enjoy the act of growing. It's sort of like if you were working out, if there was like, if you were working out, some people work out and go to the gym because they feel fat and they want to get in shape. That is one way you could do it. But there are also people that are in shape and they work out because they like how it feels to stretch. They like working out. That's what they do. They are not working out to get a certain body. They already have the body. They just like how it feels to stretch themselves. That's how I think that personal growth is as well. Let me get my coffee. I always make like a whole pot of coffee and then I can't drink it. And then I have to put it in the fridge for like cold brew or whatever. Okay, D. Kim said, let's be honest here. Other ENFJs tend to tell other people what to do and how to grow all the time. INFJs do the same, but mostly to closer people. I just like that, but I also see the value in that. Yeah, I mean, you have a point. I'm not saying that I never tell people what to do or that ENFJs don't ever tell people what to do, but I also want to point out that a lot of the reasons why people feel pressure is just due to the actual behavior of how an ENFJ lives their life. And for me, if somebody is hurting, if somebody is worried about something, then I'm going to want to help them. And it's really hard for me if someone's like, man, I really hate my job. And I'm like, okay, well, what have you done about that? Or like, I'll like try and give them options. To me, it seems like a lot of people want to keep themselves stuck in a mindset. They give themselves limiting beliefs and limiting ideas of like, oh, well, I couldn't do that. And they just want to keep themselves stuck. They don't want to grow. And so, but sometimes it's like, as someone who loves you, like as your friend, as your family member, whoever I am to you, it's hard and it hurts me to hear you keeping yourself stuck and not doing anything to get out of your situation. And so, at least for me, I can't speak for all ENFJs. I guarantee that more unhealthy ENFJs might give unsolicited advice to people that they don't really know or whatever. But like for me, like if I hear somebody that I love that is like complaining to me about something, that I'm sort of like, well, what do you want me to do? Because I can tell you what I would do, like, but I also do give unsolicited advice. Like there's an INTP I work with, this guy that was talking about how he was going to finish his degree, but that he might want to move home to save up money after he got his degree, which would be a small town, like a smaller town, like in a rural area. He wanted to move from the city to a smaller town in a rural area to save up money for a bit after college. And I was like, well, do you really want to do that? And he was like, well, I think it might be more practical. And I was like, but that's the thing you have to know. That's the thing you have to remember, is that bigger cities are more expensive, but they also have more opportunities. So I would hate for you to move back home just because, and then like miss out on an opportunity, especially if you want to live here. I'm like, do you want to live here? He's like, well, yeah, but it just might not be practical to. And I was like, well, why wouldn't it be practical to? And then I had to kind of stop myself, and I was like, I don't really know this guy. I don't really know this person. It's not really my place to say. But then I think I jokingly would be like, well, if you want some unsolicited advice, or I said something like, oh, are you just scared? And he was like, yeah, kind of. And then I realized I crossed a boundary. I do this with NTPs a lot, probably, because I notice when they're scared or something. But I was just very teasing, like, oh, okay, so you're scared. Like, I get it. And I was like, I've been scared. And then I just was like, well, I believe in you. And then that was awkward because I think probably did not want to hear that. So, yeah. What are your thoughts on dating an ISFJ? I've never dated an ISFJ, but I have had some close ISFJ friends. I don't know necessarily if that would be a good match romantically, because I would imagine that they would be really annoyed with my lack of introverted sensing and would realize my blind spot a lot. So, yeah, and another thing about wait, never mind. Okay, I'm going to scroll up and just answer some of these questions. Okay, CS Joseph, I like his videos, but here's the thing with him. No offense to him. This is just my personal view. Is I think that his videos seem to be really good for people that are learning the functions. But they aren't as entertaining in general. And personally, I kind of know I've been interested in functions and personality types since I was 17, and I no longer really am that interested in watching educational content. And so I haven't watched his content as much because right now I'm really into learning astrology. And so a lot of the content I watch is about astrology or about other things that I don't know as much about. And I'm not saying I know everything there is to know about personality type. I do think that his videos are really good. I would like to collab with him. I'd love to speak with him or talk to him or something. but I personally don't really watch that type of content as much anymore because I don't know. I've already kind of gone through that phase. Like now I'm just like thinking about it all the time, but a lot of what he says in the videos I've watched, I pretty much agree with. So it's not as entertaining for me to watch long term because it is kind of saying things I already agree with or I've already thought about. And so whenever I do watch more personality videos, it's something that has the entertainment factor that's there too, not just the education. And like, I mean, I think my videos like could be better when it comes to the educational. Like the reason why I even made these videos is like for people that learn the way that I do through conversation, through just like soaking it in. Like I didn't learn as well from like, this is the definition, like this is how it goes. But I think some people learn well that way. And so there was this guy that one time was messaging me on Facebook trying to give me advice about my videos, saying that I should take some lessons from Dave Superpowers, from C.S. Joseph. And what I kept having to say to this person is, I'm a feeler and they're thinkers and there are different content for different people. And I'm not trying to be them. Like they have their content and I have my content and I respect that. But I'm doing this for a reason. I'm not like, I'm just doing it the way that it works for me. And if it's not how you learn, if you don't like my content, then you don't have to, you know, like you don't have to watch it. Let me see. People have mentioned the name Michael Pierce. I don't think that I've actually watched any of these things. Yeah, Denzel says, as an ENFJ, his YouTube, if you haven't seen his YouTube, check it out. Said, I'm an ENFJ. My whole page is about helping people grow. I'm empathetic with it. I try not to force it onto people. I just leave my thoughts there for people willing to take it. That's exactly my philosophy. It's just like, take it or leave it. This is an outlet for me to share my thoughts. This is me explaining some things that I've realized, you know, like I'm not, like you'd have to pay me to train you in Myers-Briggs. Like this is just me talking about Myers-Briggs. Eventually, I want to be like certified in it and I would like to train you, but that's like just a lot of emotional labor for me to literally be like, all right, A, B, C, D. Like that's not fun for me to do for free, unfortunately. And some people it is. And I would even venture to say that perhaps for a thinker, it is more fun to just explain it. Where for me, that's hard for me. That's hard for me to explain the ABCDs of it, like in order and like that's hard for me. Like you would have to, that I would like to get hired to do that, but I can't do that in my free time because it's just not fun for me. So, okay. Yeah, Denzel says, yeah, that's why I do one-on-one coaching. Yeah, like it's emotional labor for me to explain it to you. Whenever people message me and ask me very specific questions, like I want to be able to help you and get to that. It takes me a lot of energy to do it. And the same way that any profession, if you speak to a consultant, it's because they have all this breadth of knowledge and they're able to answer your questions, but they're only able to do that due to the research and time that they spent figuring it out. And so that's why I offer cognitive consulting now. I call it consulting and not coaching because I wanted it to feel more broad. I didn't want it to necessarily feel like therapy for people that aren't necessarily wanting that. But if anyone has any specific questions about that stuff, then there's a link below. There should be for that. But people pay money to consultants to answer their questions because consultants spent a lot of hours having all of the research and all of the information so that they can answer your question. And a lot of times it's emotionally draining and takes a lot of hard work for them to get that answer for you. It's not just something that comes off the top of their head. And so for me to charge for that, that is me trying to value myself and the time I took to do that, and it's not something that just comes to me at the top of my head. It takes a lot of mental effort. So anyway, and Lucid Dreamer, you're not talking a lot. I love your comments. And I love how you as an INTP is like more interested in other things that are more in like the NF realm. I really get along with NTPs that have expanded their mind to the point where they are willing to consider the validity of some things that are traditionally more feeler, and NTPs that have pretty much understood that there are some things that we can never know for sure, and that are able to sort of let go a bit of their TI and realize, you know, through interactions with people that you can learn some truths that can't always be validated. So Someone asked my Twitter. I'm going to comment in here. I don't know if they're still here. I just created a new Twitter account where I'm only talking about astrology and Myers-Briggs, and I just put that one down there. My other one is just Meghan LeVota, but I don't like that account. Like I got it in high school, and I mostly follow people from high school and college, and it's like stresses me out to tweet things that I care about, that I know that my followers from high school and college are not going to care about. And so really, I don't really know like why I even have that account. So, because it just like stresses me out. So D Keem, I don't know if I'm saying your name right, says, I see how an ENFJ can elevate someone. The problem arises if they overdo it, or it isn't wanted and they continue instead of accepting it. Yes, I absolutely agree with that. I think that an ENFJ should work on knowing the cues and understanding that people might not want it. But at the other hand, the person that is on the other side of it needs to be able to tell the ENFJ, please, I don't want to talk about it right now. Because something I've realized is that I really require direct communication. I don't prefer direct communication. I require it, to where sometimes I don't understand unless you're being direct. And I don't understand NE sometimes. So I don't know if any other NJs are listening right now that agree or understand what I mean. But whenever like an INFP is like in a bad mood and might want to be left alone, they might be showing some cues that they want to be left alone, but I oftentimes won't know unless they tell me I need space. That was an issue in the relationship with an INTP that I dated, where he would just drop off of the face of the earth once he needed space, and it would make me confused, where I wanted him and I expected him to tell me, hey, I need space. Because I always say to my NP friends, I can't read your mind. And I sometimes feel like they expect me to. And I know that that's just my perspective. I know that from an NP perspective, it might look like I'm playing dumb, or that I'm being manipulative, or that I'm being dense. And like, why, if you're so good at understanding people, then why can't you understand this? Well, it's because I don't use NE. And so I'm not picking up on those same sort of intuitive pattern shifts the way that you do by reading between the lines and understanding that something might have changed. Like, I expect people to use their words and tell me directly. So, yeah. Let me see. Watt NG, what do you mean by I'm still waiting, Meg? And also, yeah, I dare to say you don't get that type of NTP below age 25. Yes. Yeah. And that's why I think you guys have to realize in my videos that the NTPs I know are about my age. Like, I'm turning 24. Oh, I typed my Twitter. Watt NG. Did you see it? Yeah, Denzel said I had to learn to ask if the person needs space and then let them know that my door is always open. Yes, that's something ENFJs definitely need to learn. Oh, Justin 219, nothing bad happened. I know you were there my last live stream. Actually, everything worked out. Like, literally the next day after that, like, I have like my career lined up, and just so you guys know, my significant other also just accepted a job in the town I'm in, and so that I'm really happy about too, because she's moving here, and so yeah. Liza 8, as an NJ, do you also feel like you require direct communication and that you don't just prefer it? Because I think that's something I've realized I've had to explain to my NP friends. I've noticed that INFJs and INTJs are a little bit better than me at this, though, when it comes to the indirect communication. I've learned so much about the differences between INFJs and ENFJs lately since dating an INFJ, and I'm excited to share them with you guys eventually. I just think it's a little too fresh now. I think once we've been dating for a few more months, maybe it's something I can share more, but like, to respect privacy and stuff, I don't want to just like go on here and be like, this is what I realized after this one fight we had or something. But all I'll say right now is that I've just really realized that the way that ENFJs use SE is very different. ENFJs and ENTJs require more direct communication than an INFJ or INTJ would. Rope Crewman 36, I'm curious, what is your type? Because it seems to me... Oh, wait, are you saying that you're an ENFJ? But yeah, yeah. Funny, somebody else just got back to me wanting me to work for them too. It's so funny how literally I had no idea if anyone was going to get back to me and want to work with me. And now, like, I literally have too many people wanting to work for me or work with me that I'm going to have to say no to some people. So that's really funny to me. But yeah. Anyway, I'm going to get going. I have some work to do. Be on the lookout. Oh, how do I feel about being manifester? Okay, Alexander. I've not forgotten about that. I want to make a video about this at some point, but let me just read the manifester description for some of you guys that don't know. I think, look up human design. Here, I'll send you a link. Human design, if you guys don't like astrology, you're definitely not going to like this, because it's like astrology, except for that it's newer. Like, it is like from the 80s, I think. But I agree with it. It lets you know like your aura personality type. And I'm a manifester, which is like 9% of the population. And I think that the way that it describes manifestors really explains who I am in ways that being an ENFJ doesn't explain. And it explains the differences between me and other ENFJs that I know. Pretty much as a manifester, I have to initiate things. And pretty much my whole life, it's like manifestors initiate things, where generators respond to things, and projectors wait to be invited to do things, and reflectors reflect things. I know that's like really vague, but go look up human design if you're curious. I made another video about being a manifestor before. But pretty much, as a manifestor, I literally feel like I have to initiate things or else things won't happen to me. So that was really helpful in understanding how I think that some ENFJs or ESFJs can be more passive than me. I feel like I literally can't be. I feel like I have to do things or else nothing will happen for me. So I don't really know how to answer the question, how do I feel about being a manifestor? Because there are lots of random things I feel, I guess. So, yeah. Anyway, I've got to go. Thank you guys for listening. You guys should follow Denzel on YouTube. I'm going to finally do a collab with him about being an ENFJ. We're just going to talk about being an ENFJ and the differences between male and female ENFJs. I've been blowing him off because my life has been completely out of control. I have not even filmed any videos. My girlfriend was visiting for a whole week, trying to like look for places to move and like going on job interviews and stuff. So I haven't had much alone time, and I haven't been able to film any videos or really think about videos. So anyway, thank you guys for watching this, and have a lovely day.